start, right? Good afternoon. Madam, are you part of the class? Are you able to see? Are you going to be able to see? You're able to see? Okay. Yeah, so we can start. So yesterday we ended on talking about closing the project and writing, I think, an evaluation report, right? That's where we ended yesterday. Today it is my hope that we start risk management, the knowledge behind risk management. Then we can start project planning now, planning the whole project, like tomorrow. Yeah. So I mentioned certain things which I've put in the slides today to say when writing an evaluation report, there are certain things that are supposed to be in the report, right? And I wrote some of them there, the impact, the activities. So today I've included them in the lessons, in the slides, which I'm sure you're going with. So these, we call them evaluation terms. So when you're writing an evaluation report or a final report for the project which has been closed, these are things that are a must to include in that report. We talk about activities, tasks to be done in order to achieve project outputs. Now at this point in time, we are closing the project. So we are not saying tasks to be done. These tasks were planned for already. So in this evaluation report, we are saying activities or tasks which we carried out and how they helped us achieve the outputs. Outputs are immediate effects of activities. Then sustainability. In the project proposal, or before we initiate the project, actually in the project proposal, there is a part where you have to show how you're going to sustain the project in case funding has been withdrawn. There's a part where how do you continue the project, because people don't just want to do certain things and end there. They want things to continue, and if you can't show that, you may not actually get the funding. So sustainability is also important in that report. So sustainability is just the likelihood of change continuing once the project activities have ceased. What is the probability that you're going to continue with the project? What is the probability that you will continue implementing that project of linking patients to early treatment? What is the probability? What is the likelihood? In the absence of the funding, how do you intend to sustain the project? That is also supposed to be included in the report. Effectiveness. To what extent, or the extent to which the project meets its intended outputs and or objectives. So here I was explaining that these are the things that are supposed to be the end of project evaluation report. So you explain just like the statement says, to what extent have you achieved the outputs? Or to what extent have you achieved the deliverables? Then the rest is qualitative data and quantitative data. Qualitative data will include the meetings you had with the people, your observations on the ground. It's just about the language, the written words, how you recorded the works, the progress, not in numbers, but in words. What were the people saying before you started the project and after the project started in the process? What were they saying? That's the qualitative side of that report. Quantitative is about numbers, the indicators. We had managed to link 400 out of 50 for 500 people. we had achieved 50% change in those who participated in the project according to male and female, and also we reached out to 500 youths in the 500 people we intended to reach out to. That's the quantitative side of the report. The other thing, I've already talked about the quantitative. Then the other thing you need to talk about, this is very important to know the difference between the outcome and the outputs. Outcomes measures changes in relation to the goal of the project, both intended and unintended outcomes. Remember, at some point during this lesson, I also said something to say, actually it was yesterday, I was saying that we have direct impact, right? We have direct impact of the project, right? Because we have direct, because the direct people you are supposed to affect, we know them, they are supposed to be 500, right? This is our intention. But what is this the spillover effect of as a result of affecting the 500? What about those who will be affected indirectly? Those are the ones we did not intend to affect, but they are affected as a result of the 500. You get the point, right? That is what the outcomes are about. Then the outputs, these are direct or immediate effects of immediate activities. If we meet the raw health workers, what do we get? Maybe we get a book or a register of maybe outpatients from the outpatient department. That is our direct output, because we've done something. I can also say an output is a deliverable, because we've met the PS. He has given us maybe means of health plan, strategic plan on malaria. That is an output for having met it, right? An immediate effect of an activity is an output. Then relevance. This is about the stakeholders now. How are they defining to what extent has this project actually met their expectation is what we call the relevance of the project. So in that report, the evaluation report, you come back to the goal, the umbrella of the project, then you define the relevance, because they told you to say we will need 500 people to be affected, and obviously 1,500 people to be indirectly affected. Maybe that's how they are defining the relevance of the project to them. So you just speak according to how they wanted you to run the project, or how they wanted their money to be used. That's what it means. The extent to which the project meets the stakeholders or the clients' priorities. What were the priorities? Were they looking for us to see a lot of women involved in the project, in what you're trying to implement as a result of the project? Were they looking forward to have maybe 60% of the youths and women to be part of the project, to be affected as a result of what you are doing? You explain in those terms. All these things are defined because they will give you what they want to see. And therefore you tailor your goal according to how they want you to see, how they want to see things. Because that's the reason as why they are putting in money. Or maybe it's an internal project. The organization has a picture of where they want to be, what they want to achieve, maybe in terms of the image, in terms of increase in income and profits, how they want the project to affect the organization in such a way. That's a relevance. Very important steps. The report is always centered around these steps. It has to center around these steps. Then efficiency. Where the activities, where the deliverables you were supposed to achieve. Remember I said that deliverables are planned are planned for before the implementation, right? We plan what you're going to do. So, did you achieve these deliverables, or did you do these activities within the time frame to say we will meet the chief in the first quarter? Did you meet the chief in the first quarter? Did you also get the deliverable in that same first quarter that you wanted to get? If you did so, did you get these deliverables, or did you do the activities within the budgeted money according to how you had put it on the Gantt chart? If it was so, we might say we call that efficient. We are together, right? That is what I wanted to close with when it comes to writing an evaluation report at the close of the project. Yeah. So I've talked a lot about risks, but today I'm going to go a little bit deep and practical about risk management, identification of risks, and then next week we'll be developing the actual risk register. We are together, right? In this class you are too quiet. I don't know whether you understand or I explain too much. I don't know. Sir? We are on course. Okay. Things are making sense. They are making sense. Okay. So what I showed you about the evaluation report, those terms are the terms we use. So I have defined them, but once you read maybe output, I've defined how that should be written in the report, and obviously you will know that, of course, this is what I'm supposed to write. I defined risks. I said everything that poses a threat to the project before the actual project begins is a risk. Because we cannot say that this is a risk. It has not yet happened, right? Risks have not yet happened, but we can see that they are likely. These are likely to happen. And if they did happen, then the project will be affected in this way. But we handle risks based on their probability to occur and the impacts they will have. That's when, let's say if you are a project manager in the organization, you'll be required to, this is very important because in the NGO sector, you'll be required also to develop a risk manual. When you develop a strategic plan for the organization, at the end of that, you develop a risk manual, right? Where if this happened, even in your absence, the director will be able to react in a certain way because you have a risk manual for the whole organization for a certain period of time. So that's why this is very important. So that's it. Risks are threats to a project that have not yet happened. It could result in failure or failure to achieve the objectives. Those are risks. Let me just go straight into how we identify risks. Okay. So this is how we identify risks. There could be financial risks. This is about the investment. Sometimes, I think I said this earlier, but I have to say it again. At some point, the reason as to why an organization will undertake a project is because maybe the project is linked to a bigger picture, right? Or that project, the benefit is money. The organization have seen that one, we will make money out of this project. Two, our reputation will go high. So on the financial side, we ask ourselves questions. Okay, is it internal funding? If it's internal funding, what is the benefit? If we did this, what is the benefit of us putting in 2 million kwacha in the project? So those are the things we ask in terms of financial risks. And what are the possibilities that the accountant may play mathematics? Who audits the accountant? No wonder if you are being funded, you have to mention before the money is given to you, you submit audit reports from a firm. You have been audited, so you take the audit reports and you say, okay, these are the guys that audits our firm. It gives confidence to the people giving you money that you are responsible of your financial management. So you ask yourself a question to say, okay, financially, is, let's say, our accountant very stable? If we are using a software and we are wiring money, what is the probability that information in the money QuickBook can be played around with? So all those, you're asking yourselves questions, and as long as a question pops up, you should find an intervention to it. An intervention can either be you ignore it. Anyway, I'm preempting again the next slide. You can ignore it, or you can find a strategy, or you can transfer the risk to say, okay, if this guy managed to steal the money, the likelihood is that we can get his salary. And one, how can we recover the money if he stole? How can we recover the money? You begin to put things in place, the measures in place. We'll take him to police. How do we get the money? But what is important is the project has to continue running. So our interest is in getting the money. How quickly do we get the money? So you put all those things in place. That's how we identify risks. Then the strategic, this is at management level, where sometimes, this is what I said in the beginning to say, this is likely to be a scope creep. A scope creep. And a situation where maybe the director sees that, okay, like when you start the project, this is my experience, like throughout, the moment you start a project, maybe a month into a project or 3 months, the moment you report you submit the first report, or you do a presentation of how everything is progressing, almost everyone, their minds are open and they see what they left out. So now remember, I talked about you are the project charter, right? How the project will flow, right? You also are the scope. That means what is in the project and what is not in the project. That is basically the scope, right? You had it. Then strategically, this is someone who gave you the job to say, the organization has decided you're going to manage the project, you'll be our project lead, such kind of things. Then they say, you know what? Is it possible to increase from 500 patients to 550? Or, Mwana, the money, the way it is going, it seems the project is getting all the money. Is there anything deliberate we can do to come out, maybe just 450 people, even if we don't hit the 50? You know the funders will understand. We would have tried such kind of things, but just know how you play around with the monies. These are things like the bosses have come on board. They've seen the millions as like, we just see these millions. They go. Remember, in most cases, they are not part of the project. So they are not getting money. Because in the project, in the Gantt chart or in the budget, every activity is costed. Your presence there is costed per hour, right? So there is no hour which should be there to remain dormant. You remember, you get my point, right? So there is no possibility that the topmost foremost guys who will be involved in the project. Such things usually happen. They will take, maybe the project is technical, they will say, get the young guys, let them develop softwares. Get the young guys who have worked with QuickBooks, put them there. They can manage these financial problems very quickly. So that means that the probability that the strategic figures there, they are not going to be there. So they may come down to compromise everything, to say, what to do? You know what to do. You know. But again, you cannot tell people to say, okay guys, once you receive your allowances, we'll be giving you 850. Once 850 lands in your account, you should release 250. That already compromises even the productivity and the confidence everyone has in you. Right? So all these things happen. So no wonder in the first place, you look at the strategic plan, you look at strategic risks that are likely to occur from the strategic positioning of the organization, and you develop a risk register and manual, and how you are going to handle the risks, and you give everyone to say, okay, director, this is our risk register, this is our risk manual, this is how we are going to handle these things, so that from the onset he knows that the chaps, how do I go to him when he gave me this? So you have handled all problems in advance. We are together, right? That's how we identify risks. Then technically, it's mostly technology. What if the software crashed? We are using a software. What if your management information systems crashed? What if the computers you are using crashed? What did you do? So you say, you put things in place. Maybe from the onset you say, we will be using Outlook. We'll use Microsoft Project, or we'll be communicating via Outlook. And to back up everything, we'll make sure that everything we download, we back them up on the Google Drive. Whoever wants to access this data, they just go on the Google Drive and they can read whatever they can read. So you are backing up everything. These things occur. You can be in a project, halfway the project, or where you are to put all the reports, the computer crashes. You can't retrieve, the project is on pause. It can't be on pause, because once it is on pause, everything has shifted. Money is at risk. So we look into all those things. Legal compliance, what are you likely to violate in the country? What are the laws? You also look into those things. Litigations. This is a must. Litigation letters, litigation reports. Before you are given money, you should have a legal firm where you go, they look at your assets, they look at your debt status of the company. If you have any debt, some people are following you, you owe ZRA is following you, no wonder it is, they will require your tax, your annual returns, everything. So now litigation, you go to the legal firm. You go to the legal firm and ask for a litigation letter. It's something like 250 kwacha. Ask for a litigation letter to say you don't owe anyone. Once that litigation letter has been released, the funders have confidence to say, okay, our money is safe. When we put it in their account, ZRA won't remove it. So they are safe, their books are okay. So you get that litigation letter, it's a necessity. Every time you're getting this money, that is a necessity. So that is again on the mind of a project manager, because your main intention is to achieve the goal and to avoid everything possible to threaten the success of the project. So you have this litigation letter. Because you cannot get the money, and yet you know that the company owes people, ZRA is on our neck, the bank are following us. Maybe the moment the money is wired into the bank removes it. So that is a problem. So you put these things into perspective. Yeah. Then the other thing is political or economic. Political is how do we handle our project? Is it politically sensitive? Do we mention political figures when we are doing this project? So simple. Economics, how is our culture trending against the money, the currency in which we are receiving the money? You put all mitigations. Okay, if this happens, what happens? Okay, if this money, there is potential that we might risk the money. So why don't you insure the whole money once you get it? So that you transfer the risk from the organization to the insurers. You get my point, right? Insure the money if you know. Of course, we all know that, okay, our organizations, when it comes to money, there are issues. We all know when it comes to such things. We can tell what, here, it's not. So you ask around to say, according to this, this is a threat. ZRA might pounce on our money. And you know, these guys, the law firm, they are our friends. They've written the letter on good faith. I've never gotten a litigation letter and the law firm came to investigate. They went through our accounts. No. Okay, do you owe anyone? This is how they ask. Do you owe anyone? No. How is your ZRA? It's good. Annual returns, good. Oh, write him a letter. What's your company? For how many years? 2 years. They write you a letter. You get the money. But meanwhile, you know that your ZRA books are not good. So what do? You're a project manager. Tell the director to say, sir, this is a risk. So in case this happens, why don't we insure the money? Let's insure the money with this insurance company so that if this happens, we will shift our risk to the insurance and they will give us back the money. And we will give, if anything, the donors wanted to get back their money, we would have insured our money. That's it, risk management. Right? Because I've never seen any law firm. The law firm, I have a law firm name with belt. They've never come to investigate whether we owe anyone or not. They will just ask, oh, okay, so do you have any debt? No. Is it that no? So it's done just in good faith. So if you know that this is likely to happen, just talk to the people to say, oh, the money is likely to be bounced on. And this is USA money. And once that happens, the whole country will say, oh, they steal money, they stole money, all of us will go in jail. So why don't we insure it? So that when this happens, we tell them to say, no, we knew it was likely to happen. So we insured the money. If it doesn't happen, well and good, but we would have insured the money. So that's risk transfer. You have transferred the risk from your organization to an insurance company. Reputational risk. Yes, sir. You put the law firm in danger. And you know lawyers work based on practicing license. So you really put them in danger after they risked their firm and everything about them to trust you with the letter. Of course, you put them, it's a risk they take. So they reached a point where they just trust your word. They will just trust your word. Because they also think to say, the confidence to come here and get a litigation letter, and we tell him that we ask him a question whether they have debt or not, and he says no, and he knows the implication of this. So let's go by his word. They'll do just risk like that. I don't know if they have any legal defense, them being lawyer, of how they can defend themselves. But I've never had a situation where we get a litigation letter and then we had liabilities. I would not want to end my career like that. I just make sure that everything, at that point in time, that is one of the moments that I visit Bakra, I visit ZRA and make sure everything, I also go through the financial statements and see everything and every report and make sure that there is money in the account. Because they will say, okay, how much money do you have currently in the account? Okay, give us the financial statement for the past 6 months. So if you are eyeing a project, you make sure also that every money the company makes goes through the account for the benefit of the organization. Because once you print the financial statement, it helps you to give credibility or to form trust easy to say, okay, they've funded this much. This is how frequently the account receive money and how frequently it goes. Sometimes if you have a lot of withdrawals on the financial statement, they will ask, okay, so what purpose did you withdraw? Why? Who witnessed? Who are the signatories? Who signs the checks? Who authorized? On what purpose? Why did you withdraw it? They will ask you all those things because they want to know. To say not only one man decides to withdraw the money. Such kind of things. No wonder, in the first place, you need to identify risks according to what I'm showing you: a political, reputation, strategic, technical. You have to identify. You ask yourself politically, what are the threats to this project? Financially, what are the threats to this project? If it occurs, okay, what is the likelihood of this to occur? We do that on the risk register. Some funders, they will give you a template, and they will ask you such kind of questions to say politically, what are the risks? If it is high, shade this part with red. And remember, if the risks to financial are so high and they are likely to occur, you might as well not get the money. So you also think properly on those you are terming to be high risks. You get my reasoning, right? Because you might say financial risks are high, and they are likely to occur. Because the moment you say high risk, it means it is likely to occur. And the impact, according to how the risk manual is developed, when a risk is likely to occur, it means the impact is high. So once you say it is likely to occur, you shade red, you will see all those things next week in practice. You shade maybe red, it is likely to occur, it means that the impact is high. And if the impact is high, you also state who handles this risk, who is responsible for this risk, how fast should they respond. All those things are stated. So if you increase, let's say, strategically, the risks are high, the funders will ask a question, no. If the risks are high strategically, then we can't trust the board of directors. Again, we cannot entrust our money to people in people's hands who don't manage the organization. So you're getting the point, right? So you also weigh whose risks you say they are high. So it's now about you now thinking, because the organization needs the money and everyone now, they have put their eyes on the money. So you also become very careful on which risks you say high, likely to occur. We're together, right? Okay. The operation risks, I usually handle this properly. It is always on my mind when it comes to operation, because people, you don't tie people to work sometimes. People have got the freedom to leave, the freedom to quit, and the freedom to say, no, I can't continue. There is another project, I've just found a new job, and the project has just reached maybe half, maybe entering, maybe third quarter of the project is done. Then our key IT guy says, I just found a project with USAID and they are giving me money 4 times what you're giving me. You can't tell him, he has to leave. So now, who manages the softwares? Who manages the data? Who manages the project information? Such kind of things they occur. So you also know how to handle. You ask yourself, if it occurred, what should we do? So at that point in time, you say, okay, we are going to have 3 technical guys on this project. This is our main project lead, IT lead. He will develop the software. But you tie him to agreements. You say, at each and every point of the software you develop, you give us the manual of the software and the technology. You explain how you are doing it. And you give us the manual. And upon doing that, you should meet these guys, the 2 officers. Because in most cases, those guys, we poach them out. And so the IT guys, we poach them and bring them in the organization. So you say, okay, these guys, you work closely with them. Whatever you do, they should know. Whatever technology you do, they should know. You should show them. You should actually shoot a video of how you are doing it and the technology, how it works, and the manual you should give us and give them. Because these guys, we want them to be reporting to us. When you are reporting, they should also be reporting to us. So that if any, but he doesn't know why you are doing what you are doing. Just in case he left, the 2 guys will pick it up. Risk handled, right? So you also measure to say, okay, that also happens when it comes to the financial risks. The chief accountant and the project accountant, better tie them together. Because if one messed up, the other one, it will be easier to read the financial records and find the problems and take it up from the other one. So technically, operationally, when it comes maybe to technical issues, it's better you pair the people together, like 2. Like, we are doing a project for Ministry of Tourism. We are automating the whole tourism operation for government to maximize revenue collection. So they gave the project to the School of Engineering, and then they subcontracted us. So I'm leading that project. So when I saw the group of people who were there, they are, they are professors, they are lecturers. In all honesty, I know that there is no way these guys are going to sit down and develop software. They are teaching, they teach at Osaka University, they teach at UNZA, they teach at African University. So tying these guys to a software will prove you down. Even before we started planning, just to submit the bids, the reports, all those things, we just discovered that the first person they put as a project manager, he was already in South Africa working. So the day came to submit the bids. So me, I'm receiving the calls. I'm trying to call the man, he's not around, only to find an email to say, sorry, I'm in South Africa, I'm attending this and this. We were given 1 week to say, if you don't, we get the project from you. 1 week given, we did not still submit because he wasn't around. Still, he was working somewhere again, consultant UN. So me, I said, we are not going anywhere. So I just went to the Dean School of Engineering. I explained to say, you know what? We are not going to work like this. Let people teach. Let people develop software. So they said, Kennedy, from your side, we just need 2 people. The rest are coming from the school. I said, no. We are about to develop about 5 or 6 software. You need 2 people. And you have called us as the technical group. And we need to develop software, 5 software systems for the government in 3 months. and you have given us 2 people. No. Remove your people. Remove all these PhDs, remove them. Or we go away. The good part also, the bid also suggested to say, you have to work with these guys. Because we already had an MOU with them, with the Ministry of Tourism. So they said, you have to work with them. No one should come in. So we had also the authority to say, if my team, you don't give us 4 slots on this project, we are not touching it. Because we are risking 1, our company, 2, we risk going to jail. 2, we work under pressure and we are building a company, so we cannot afford to deliver unfinished products. So form all positions. You form a business guy, you form 2 technical guys, you form 2 project officers, but just make sure that in all those slots, 4 are reserved for us. They understood. They said, yeah, at this point in time now we can deliver the project in 3 months. That's when we started now working. We swapped the project manager, I came there, we submitted everything, developed the bid reports and responded to such and such. So that's the thing. So the whole point is that I know that 2 guys can develop the whole platform, the software. But I know that to each guy I should attach them like this. Each platform they are developing, there should be 2. Each platform they are developing, there should be 2. So that if this one goes, this one remains. And tell them to say, this is how much you'll get at the end of the project. So that's how we just handle projects. It's more of thinking actually when it comes to that. But this is how we identify risks. Politically, technically, then you ask yourself questions. Then you go to weighing risks. If they happened, what should we do? What is the likelihood? Then environmental, is your project you are implementing subject to natural disaster? Can the rains affect you? If that is likely to happen, what are you going to do about it? What is the intervention? That's environmental. Maybe it's pollution, major disaster, things like the earthquake. What should you do if it happened? In Zambia, of course, the earthquake is unlikely to happen because the earthquake, not those things we boom, 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 boom. No, the earthquake has to tear the library apart. Like the way it happened last time in Haiti, I think that was in 2018. Those are earthquakes. What is the likelihood that that will happen in Zambia? So you say, no, it's less likely to happen. Then, okay, if it's less likely to happen, what is the impact? The impact is less. Oh, so if the impact is less, is it something we should pay attention to? All those things are mentioned in your writing on the risky register. You say, response rate, slow. Such kind of things. Any question on the risk identification? It's clear? So you have a question? Zema, did you start the project do you understand the regulations from Zema? Yes. No, and breach of law, it's all legal. It's all compliance also. And in the environmental sector. Maybe in most cases when I say legal and compliance on that, maybe I'm talking about things like PACRA, getting a litigation letter, declaring your company in confidence that it is safe, your ZRA books are okay. Maybe you don't owe pension funds such that they at some point they may come to get your money. If you don't have the money, they get your cars. Any question? I can proceed? Yeah, these are the things I was talking about. Risks can be ignored. You choose not to attend to them. All these things are supposed to be part of the risk manual, risk register. Or you just accept. After being aware of the risk, you accept it. Okay, we accept it. It will happen, and we are ready for the consequences. Or after being aware of the risk, you know you contain it. You have strategies of how you are going to minimize it. You can contain the risk. Or you establish contingencies, setting aside some resources, some funds, or some backup human resource to say if the software guy ran away, our in-house software team will take it up. You are putting contingents. Then transfer of the risk. That's what I was talking about, the insurance. You can transfer the risk to another company. That is it. Those are, you are showing to say, this is how we are going to respond if a financial risk happened. This is how we are going to respond to it. We will ignore it. Or this is the contingency. All those things are stated. Because $5 million US is not small money. You need to make sure that when it comes, the safety net is also strong. Risk scoring. So this is what I was talking about, the probability of the risk happening and the impact. So we have risk scoring strategy or criteria in the risk register. So this just, each risk, you relate it to the probability of it happened and the rank to say the medium, low, or high. That's what the rank. If it is high likely, the likelihood is likely to happen. That means the impact will be severe and the kind of response should be stated how you're going to react to it. This is risk management we are doing. Next week we'll just be working on the actual risk register. But once we go through this, you know that you can actually even develop a risk register. So in that next week, show you things like we've worked with, things practically we've developed to say this we developed for this project, this is a risk register for the organization. We work with such kind of things. So the score, you state probability. I wanted to point there. So the probability, so these are the scores. The probability and severity of that risk. That's how we develop a risk register. So if you say the risk of the operational risk, the software guy is not somebody you can trust, he may leave. What is the likelihood? The likelihood is very high. So likely to cause serious. So if you say, the moment you say the likelihood is very high, that is likely to cause serious significant disruption to the schedule of the project, maybe to the cost of the project, or maybe it is likely to affect performance. If the risk is medium, you are saying there is a reasonable chance that it can occur. What is the severity if this happened? According to the political risks you identified, if this happened, maybe the director is a politician secretly. If this had to happen, what is the severity of that? Has potential to cause some disruption to the schedule. It has potential to increase costs or affect or degrade performance. Low, very unlikely to occur. Almost never, like the earthquake issue. Almost never. Has little potential. Obviously, even the response to this, how you react to it as an organization, you can even ignore. At this point in time, that's why we even maybe implore we will ignore this one. We are together, right? Any question? Any question from the notes we shared yesterday? Okay. I'm in a very dangerous position because I don't know whether it is too simple. Is it too simple? It's too simple? Huh? Madam? You are getting it? Okay. So, now the issues. So the issue has happened. We have lost some of the training courses due to the PC crashing. What category is at risk? Technical. When did it happen? What is the severity? It's high. Who is the risk owner? James is the risk owner. So, what is the action taken? Identifying missing courses and rewrite. What is the status of that? It is closed. It has been handled. So, we have too many people for the workshop. What is that risk? It's a reputation risk category. When is this likely to happen? Or when did this happen? That date. What is the severity? Medium. Who is the risk? Who is in charge? Who should the director call to say, you were negligent on this one. How could you allow that? What are you doing about it? Is this still ongoing or you have done something? Okay, Grace is the risk owner. She's here. So, what is the likelihood? What is the course of action likely to be taken? Find a new venue or reduce attendees. Has this been attended to? It is open. We are getting it right? That's how we do these things. Risks, hotel rooms will be hard to find for attendees due to tourists. Remember, a risk has not happened, right? It is a threat that if this happens, it is likely to cause this, right? So now, the risk is this. Obviously, the issue is, but the risk is, why did this happen if they had identified this risk? And they didn't pay attention. Grace didn't pay attention to that. As a risk manager, or as a project manager, she didn't pay attention to that. So that issue occurred. You get the point, right? It occurred. So what has happened when it occurred? What has happened? What has she done? We are reporting because everyone has to be aware. Remember, we defined project management as the organization of resources, skills, financial. When I say skills, it also includes how we are going to be communicating, how we are going to plan our communication. So all those things, who is responsible for this, the skills. You cannot put a software developer to go and manage finances. So automatically you know that when the program is threatened, call the M&E officer or the project officer. Such kind of things. So you state, you say, this, the person responsible is this. Sometimes we include that in the Gantt chart, so that deliverable, person responsible, this one. Risk is this. Person responsible is this one. So you know exactly who to call and what everyone is supposed to do. So that everyone is kept. Remember, I said that people are involved in projects with different intentions, right? There are projects where you just see the money and say, I'll do everything possible to be there. You don't care whether you understand the project or not. But as a smart project manager, because you have the background knowledge, you contain everyone. You make them get interested by force. Not by forcing them because you have given them documents. So everyone knows. Because people, naturally, they don't want to be managed. It's better you manage documents. So that's why we are getting this knowledge actually. So that's how we handle risks. Okay, so this is what happens. First of all, the proposal you write goes with risks already identified and measures to be taken. So, because the project has been broken down into parts, right? There's the financial side of the project, right? There's the M&E part of the project. There's the data collection side of the project, maybe. And there is the overall management of the project, and the project manager is the boss, right? So if you identify that this risk is technical, automatically the owner of that risk is a software guy. You get the point, right? Yes. So if you identify that the risk is financial, so the person who is in charge of the finances, the project financing accountant on that project, is the owner of the risk. He is the one who's supposed to suggest solutions. To say, you ask them questions to say, you know, these are risks which are likely to happen. What do you think we should put in place before we start the project? And do you know that you being the financial guy on this team, you are the owner of this risk? So even the Gantt chart shows to say, financial person is the owner of the risk. But because the proposal has to go to the funders, right? So they also see your responsibilities in handling risks. To each risk, there is a person responsible to that. So they will go through. They may not be part of, I've never witnessed. Sometimes they can get involved to some extent to identify risks, or they know risks already. Because remember that people who give money, they are very knowledgeable. If they are giving money in agriculture, be sure that the person they have employed there has too much experience in agricultural funding, and is there on the team, and he has all the risks on their fingertips. Just like at RUFEP, when you go at RUFEP, you meet, the first meeting, you meet them like this. They will introduce themselves to say, I'm the M&E guy, I'm the project manager, I'm the financial what, I'm the operation officer, I'm the field manager. Then they even give you a history. I've worked for Ministry of Agriculture, as this, I have worked for USA. Now you know the people you're dealing with. So, even when you identify risks, they will know that no, they are running away from real risks. So they will bring back your proposal to say, or they will ask questions in the proposal. They will comment. What about this? 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 Then you say, oh. Then at that point in time, they begin to judge your experience and your knowledge level. You say that you are running away, or your knowledge level is just low. So now, should they give you the money or not? So the proposal goes with everything. Your Gantt chart, your activities, risk management part, it goes with everything. And how you're going to handle the risks. Have I answered your question? Yes. But very soon, it is just at the concept level that you know that you are dealing with smart people. Because they read. Yes. People assume that, yes, people assume that if I write this, these guys, they won't pay attention. They are funding a lot of people. They are not reading. They won't read. But me, I've witnessed where even my English was corrected. Spelling. I gave them respect. You wonder when they read. Now that's when you begin to realize that, oh, that's their job. That's why they get paid. They have to put everything in order. So don't assume. Because first, let's say, imagine a scenario. USA, like the way RUFEP operates. RUFEP operates with, RUFEP, they are like twins with ISAP. If you heard of ISAP, right? So IFAD offloads money to ISAP and to RUFEP. So now, these people, like they are the same people. You discover that the guy you met at RUFEP is now project manager at ISAP. So he has handled all these financial projects in agri sector. He has gone to ISAP to handle the digital in agri, what and what. So you think the guy here doesn't know. The guy has known everything. He has read so many proposals. He knows what commonly occurs and what is likely to occur. And you don't pay attention to the proposal. They turn it down. But they are very understanding. RUFEP can take even 6 months. They just review your proposal. Their interest, because RUFEP, their situation is that, was it in 2017, they had $22 million US dollars in excess. Because they are given target of each and every year how much should go out. And $22 million US dollars, no organization could get it. So actually they follow you like you are the one giving them money. So please, submit. When are you submitting? We've just sent you. Please submit. Such kind of things. But even in their following you, be rest assured that they are reading everything. If they refuse to give you money, it means it was just waste. We're together, right? Yeah. Okay. I'll talk about this next in the next slide. Let me check. I need to start another new thing. Okay, I have 20 minutes. I can start. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about project planning because it's a very important thing to understand. We've understood risks, right? We have the background knowledge of the risks. So we won't face difficulties in understanding development of the risk register, right? You go through the notes once they are given to you on the risk management. It will be easier. Actually, we have even, at this point in time, because I can even give you an example of how a risk scoring thing works. It is just like a box like this. And it's like this. High, medium, something like this. Low. This is the common, most of the organization, they indicate like this. Then high, you shade red, likelihood, then the impact. So medium, maybe you shade yellow, likelihood, the impact, such kind of things. So the backbone is what I talked about today. If you understand that, you can even look at what they are saying, and you can even work with the template, no matter what. So the backbone is what I just gave you. So I wanted to talk a lot about this project planning, because in most cases, what happens is that once the money has been mentioned, sometimes even the project manager himself, we tend to focus on money and not the procedure, and forgetting that after the money has been misappropriated, the end is going to jail. So planning is very, very important. The planning phase, remember we talked about the initiation phase, the planning phase, right, and the implementation phase. I've picked out the planning phase alone and see how we can break it down a little bit deeper than we did. So it's just up to us how much willingness we have in studying these small PowerPoints notes. We can do a lot of things with them because they are principles and concepts of what project management planning is all about. Okay, so we all know what happens in project management planning. The charter is approved. We know what the charter is, right? We looked at the charter. Was it yesterday? We've forgotten? How the project, for the objective, the goals, the what. Okay. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. So, project planning is the second major project phase that happens after the project charter is approved, how the project will flow, what will be involved, when the budget will be implemented. Then we are ready to proceed to start implementing the project. So no wonder I picked this to talk about it again. So once the goal has been identified, why we need to do that project, the cost we know, we have been given money or the cost of the project, we have the budget at hand, we know it's 25 million, so we are breaking down. We know which schedule, when each activity is supposed to be done, we know, because we have planned for all those things. We have a list of deliverables, things that are going to show that we actually did these things, the evidence of doing certain things, establishing resources plan, human resource, how you're going to manage people, and obviously getting management approval. This may also include the stakeholders giving us the money, or the management after assessing it in terms of the reputation after doing the project, or the profits to the project. Now we are about to go into implementation. So the planning phase is very important. This is something as a project manager you really need to put in the mind. And this is what happens in project planning as a whole. We plan for the scope. We prepare how the works will be broken down. Remember, I talked about coming up with an objective and breaking an objective into activities, right? We're together, right? How you're going to schedule the what? The project development, that is the Gantt chart. When is an activity going to happen? When is the deliverable going to be received? Who is going to be responsible? In which quarter this is supposed to be achieved? That is human resource planning. Who are the team? How many technical guys do you need? How many software financial officers do you need? And this is simple because now at the back of your mind you have understood even the risks and how you are going to play around human resource, because you are also now at this point in time maybe aware of the risks of not taking the human resource planning seriously. The budget planning, this is broken down, of course. The procurement planning, where you're going to be buying your things, what agreements do you need, what kind of evidence will you need that you have purchased from the stated shops or stores. The risk management, you plan for them by developing the risk register the way we just did. Quality planning, I said that when a project is said to be quality or a success project, you ask yourself a question: how are we going to define our quality, the quality of the project? What are the stakeholders, the funders saying? Are they looking at the number of women involved in, let's say, financial management, or in silk, or involved in farming, daily farming? Are they looking at those numbers? If they are, how are we going to measure these changes? And how are we going to manage the changes? And how are we going to make sure that this happens? That is quality planning, because the quality of the project is defined in relation to how the goal has been achieved, how well the objectives have been implemented, how well the deliverables have been achieved, and have they been achieved in time how well the budget has been implemented is the quality. You plan for those things. We are together, right? Communication planning. When do we meet? Do we meet after every quarter? When do we send a report to the funders? When do we update the director on the project process? So we keep them updated. Maybe they might think the project after starting it, they feel it has risk. It is likely to affect the reputation of the organization, so we need to keep these people updated. How do we update them? When do we update them? Will we need to meet before we update them as a project team? Or who talks to them? Is it the project manager, or is the financial officer the project manager and the technical guy? Stakeholder management planning. I gave you a slide on this, a very detailed slide. We went through that. When you read that, you know how you handle stakeholders, those in the down and those in the up. Sometimes this is what happens. This is what makes actually most of the things safe, because professionally we tend to form networks. Say, you know, the project manager for this organization, you know, they've done a lot of DFID projects, so you ask them, they send you documents to say, and you ask them, so what do they look for? They tell you their gender bias. You should know how to handle them gender. In the gender category, you should come out very strong. And actually, in the project team, make sure the women are more than the men, and make sure maybe the project assistant is the woman, or the project manager is the woman, or the financial manager is the woman. We tend to give each other like just tips. We send each other documents to say, okay, that is DFID. You call your friend to say, boy, we've got a project we are trying to apply for a DFID, but do you have their budget template? Have you done any project? Yes, I have. Are you able to send me? Okay, this is confidential. Please don't send it to anyone, but I can send it to you. Or let's meet, I show you. Such kind of things. So we tend to have like insight even before we begin all these things. So there are some stakeholders which you keep a distance. Your only job is to update them. And there are also stakeholders, you know, they are very interested. So your job also is to involve them, not just to update them. You involve them also. I've witnessed, actually, the person who will be teaching you proposal writing is one of those guys who have worked a lot in the NGO sector. So usually some funders, they call the person to say, okay, there is an organization that wants funding from us. What do you know about them? Can we give them money? If the person says no, it is no. It's just like that. Because you have created a certain relationship, because you involve them a lot. So they are likely to ask you if his organization wants money from them. So when you say no, no matter what they do, it's a no. There's just in these networks, such kind of things happen. So that's what is involved in the project planning. So basic processes of project planning. What is in and what is not. Specific, the goals, is it measurable? Determining the scope is a key piece of being able to prepare a plan. The scope is what is in the project and what is not in the project. How are we going to measure? How specific is our goal? That's the scope. So you look when you're planning for the scope, that's it. I also have notes on the scope planning, but I'm just looking at the periods. So I'm like picking things, you know what I mean, that are accommodative with the period, but I can share the notes. I can be preparing them slowly, and I don't know how much willing you are, how much deep you are willing to go. Like there is, like the way I've picked project planning, there is also scope planning in detail. I can also give you the material of that. It is up to you to see how far and how deep you want to go with this. So work breakdown structure, very important. This is the Gantt chart. How we are going to break down and who will be responsible for this deliverable and this activity and when they're supposed to do this and what package are they supposed to deliver. So it's just the Gantt chart. And what tasks and subtasks are supposed to occur. And what tasks are supposed to occur at the same time as this one is occurring. Can we talk to the chief at the same time we're talking to the admin? No. First we have to talk to the chief, then we talk to the admin. But once we talk to the chief, we might talk to the whole admin. It happens once, so that we don't miss this admin, we don't miss this. It increases the cost. So why don't you call all of them? Such kind of things. And what is the deliverable? So project schedule development, how long will each task on the WBS work breakdown structure take? How long are we going to take to talk to the chiefs or the admin? How many days? You state. Okay, how long will it take to advertise or to sensitize the community to create awareness? You state. What are the relationships in these activities? How does the chief relate to the admin? If we skipped the chief and went to the admin, is that insubordination of power? So you are thinking how interdependent activities are and how independent they are. If we went to the clinic without going to the Ministry of Health to get permission, is that insubordination of power or authority? Such kind of things. How complex is the chief? Will we need to get a bag of meal and chicken to go to them, or a goat? Where is the money coming from? Because the funder won't give us the money to buy a goat. There is no such a thing. So such kind of things. When will this happen? These things are answered in the proposal. So you break it down to say this will happen this period. This is the evidence that we did it. So when you send the proposal, you are doing such, you have already done such kind of things. Resource planning. What resources are required to carry out each task on the work breakdown structure? We need human resource. How much money is going to human resource? Remember I talked about the budget summary where sensitization has a lot of small activities which are costed. But on the budget summary, you just picked sensitization, right? So even in the human resource, you would say there is a software guy, there is an educationist, there is a program officer, there is an M&E, there is a project manager. So budget summary, you pick human resource and you attach the total cost of that. That's the human resource. What's the budget? This is already made easier if it's funding, because it is made simple for you. They put formulas for you in the budget, and they have given you how activities are supposed to flow. Do you need to buy an equipment? Do you need computers? Do you need gensets? If these computers crashed, do you have an insurance? Or if the office got bent, what is the backup plan? Do you have a risk strategy for this? Such kind of thing. Budget planning. What is the required budget? Already I've been told if it's funding or if it's the organization, they've already said to say we have 500,000 kwacha for this project. When during the project will the amounts be needed? First month we start dishing out the money. Where is the money going? We have paid the consultant because he has already started talking to the Ministry of Health. He's an expert in malaria implementation. So once he starts, you give him the money because he's getting paid per hour. So the money has started going out. Do we need external sources of funding? If it's internal funding of the project, you plan for that. procurement planning. What equipment will we need? Will we need some software? Do we have these in-house, or we will need to purchase them? This is the planning phase of the project. You are planning the whole project as a project manager. Remember, not everyone has this knowledge. This knowledge is resident in one person and is expected to draft the course of the project. So you have this background knowledge, you are taking your time, and you are working with a team, and you are developing all the tools necessary possible to make sure the team are on course or in sync, or they are on the same track with the project based on this knowledge. Not everyone will know that we will need procurement. Not everyone will know that there will be risks. People can't even see risk when money is involved. They can't see risk. They won't see the risk. They will know that, we have an accountant. He will bear it. But you, the project manager, your goal is that, one, you are maybe building your profession, you are building your CV, the organization is at risk, so you know that at the back of your mind there is a risk register, a risk manual, and you have developed it. So that is the risk management. What can you anticipate that is likely to affect the project? Are you going to eliminate, reduce, mitigate the impact, or you are going to transfer, and how? Such kind of things. Quality planning, the same way. Have we achieved our goal? How are we going to measure the progress? How are we going to develop our indicators? Such kind of things. How will it be measured? Is it going, in most cases, these are defined in the template, budget template, or in the Gantt chart, because some organizations, they have already the templates of the Gantt chart. So they will tell you to say, here we want to see percentage change in women involved in this. Here we want to see number of youths involved in this. So they've already given you what they want to see. Failure to do that, you did not plan for quality. Planning for quality is centered around what they want to see. We are together, right? Okay. My time is up. We'll continue tomorrow, but Mr. Nilongo will post the notes for today and for today, and this same one which we have not finished. Thank you so much. If you have any question, I think I'm on the group. Thank you.